There was a time that I told myself I was managing things just fine. But what I was really doing was minimizing the impact that things were having on me. I was working in a really toxic work environment. There was a ton of power dynamics that were at play across multiple levels of the organization. I was dealing with things like subtle put downs and minimizing what was going on for me and what was being done to me. There was a lot of behaviors that were crossing the line. I was dealing with this on a daily basis. And I would tell myself things to justify it. I would say things like, like it's really not that bad, right? Or like I was being dramatic, and a lot of this stuff was also being reinforced by other people that were in the same environment as me, right? This is the way that things have always been, and yeah, we all have to deal with some stuff, right? Just push through it. Oh, they're having a bad day. Maybe you interpreted that wrong. But I learned to minimize the impact that words and actions and behaviors were having on me just to get through the day. So on the outside, to everyone, it looked like I was coping because when I complained, I was ignored. So I learned adaptive strategies in order to make it through my day and keep my job. But when I got home, that's when the wheels started falling off. I would come through the door completely depleted, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. I was always tense. I felt like I was constantly bracing for impact, waiting for something to happen. I was dealing with things like constant migraines. I was collapsing on the couch as soon as I walked through the door. And every single morning, I would just feel this pit of nausea in my stomach as I drove to work. When I was at home, any little thing that I perceived as a slight from my husband or unhelpful, I would snap. It would hit the same place. It would strike that same nerve that I was trying to dull all day at work. And I would finally lose it. Instead of naming how worn down I was, I would shut down. I would avoid it. I told myself that none of this was worth bringing up because I was minimizing it. I would tell myself that what was the point of even bringing any of this stuff up? But there's a risk of letting things build. It didn't happen right away. It built over weeks, months, years. But when it finally came out, eventually, I would just explode. And it wasn't about the moment that I was in. I brought in every single frustration, every resentment, every time that I had felt shut down, that I hadn't spoken up, that I wasn't understood. I would grab all of that dirty trash and laundry and pull it into the conversation that I was having at that moment. It didn't matter if it was at work or, more often than not, at home. I would pull everything in, every unspoken word, frustration, no matter if it came from my professional life or my personal life. Some things that wouldn't even normally bother me started getting under my skin. And I started bringing things up to my husband that normally, if I wasn't dealing with the stuff at work, there is no way that it would have bothered me as much as it did when I was at home. What I realized later is that every time that I shut down at work, every time that I minimized my experience or listened to people who said it wasn't that big deal, that it wasn't that big deal, or that I should just brush it off, I was storing it. I was holding on to it inside. I wasn't processing it. I was trying to manage all of these disorderly suitcases that I was trying to haul around with me everywhere that I went.
Oh
I
no.
wasn't protecting myself. I was like a pressure cooker. I was stockpiling all of this pressure. And without fail, it always came out sideways, never at its intended recipient. Nothing changed until I started understanding what was going on inside of me, until I stopped abandoning myself in those small moments where I would just feel overwhelmed. The ones that it felt easier to ignore, those ones that felt like, do I even have the energy to have these conversations? That change, it wasn't about confronting harder or being more abrasive or being more assertive, as the word is that people love to say. It wasn't about saying more or doing more. It was about noticing myself in those moments a lot sooner. In the next video, I'm going to walk you through the framework that I use to help myself and now I use to help others to stop repeating this cycle, and what it looks like to handle these conflict conversations without abandoning yourself.